Coming in number 10 today, we have Megan Fox. Back in 2009, Transformers star Megan Fox would be branded as dumb, ungracious, rude, and an unbearable actress by crew members of the multi-million-dollar film franchise. As soon as the actor came out to diss the director, Michael Bay, by claiming that he objectified her on the set, the furious crew members who have stayed anonymous would post a long open letter to Megan on the director's official website and signed it as the loyal Transformers crew. In it, they tore into Megan as they labeled her as a second-rate Angelina Jolie who was disliked across the set by her diva-like behavior. The letter has since been removed from the site, but not before thousands of fans saw it. In the letter, the crew would claim that Michael made Megan the next Angelina Jolie, but as time went on, the crew noticed that she was no Angelina because Angelina was professional and Megan was as dumb as a rock in both Transformers movies. The crew also went on to call her the grump of the set and claim that she was the most ungracious person anyone could ever fathom. While the crew tried to welcome her, she just became really rude and later twisted the story when she was fired from the set for her poor behavior. Coming in number 9, we have Tom Cruise. Since 2019, film sets have had some pretty strict guidelines to protect everyone working on the set, and while many people were stuck inside, the entertainment industry was the only thing keeping people's hopes and spirits alive. So it was pretty understandable when Tom Cruise caught members of the Mission Impossible 7 set messing around. He expressed his frustrations, but the way he chose to do it was a little out there and really improper. As first reported by The Sun, after Cruise saw two of the members standing too close to one another in front of a computer screen, he told the crew, "If I see you do it again, you're effing gone." In the audio obtained by The Sun, Cruise could be heard saying, "We are the gold standard. They're back there in Hollywood making movies right now because of us, because they believe in us and what we're doing. I'm on the phone with every effing studio at night, insurance companies, producers, and they're looking at us and using us to make their movies. We are creating thousands of jobs, you mother effers. I don't ever want to see it again, ever." Cruise took the 2019 situation seriously, and that's why he was so strict about enforcing the guidelines on set and scowled the crew for taking advantage of the safe environment that the team in place helped create. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Number 8, Lea Michele. It seems like Lea Michele was such a complete diva on the set of Glee that she had zero respect when it came to her cast and crew members. The actor who has been at the center of racism after she was called out by former co-star Samantha Ware on Twitter, Ima Edwards, who was featured in the 6th season on the series, then come out to say that she heard from multiple people that Lea called extras cockroaches behind the scenes. While Lea went on to treat many of her co-stars and crew members poorly, they would even describe working with Lea was like working in their own personal hell, and it really made them question their jobs in the entertainment industry. It's also been said that Michelle even treated the crew members poorly, as she would micromanage the set and tell people how to do their jobs, and she would even throw tantrums and hold sets up for hours, forcing crew and co-stars to work long-hour days. Number 7, Christian Bale. During the production of the 2009 sequel Terminator Salvation film, lead actor Christian Bale would be caught on tape having a meltdown. Just a few months after the film debuted, the audio recording would surface, and it was clear that it was made without the actor's knowledge, as he was shocked to know he was exposed by an unnamed person on the set. In the audio, Christian could be heard going off on the film's cinematographer Shane Hurlbut, who had walked onto the scene to check a light during the filming of a scene. This apparently was the second time that he had done it, and Bale became incensed, hitting Shane with a handful of F-bombs as he threatened to smash his lighting equipment if he did it one more time. What made matters worse is that Christian even threatened to quit the film if Shane committed this offense one more time without being fired. For Shane, on his part, he was very apologetic, but then again, he couldn't get into a shouting match with the film star and not get fired. Christian would then later come out apologizing for the incident, but the two haven't worked on the same project since. Number 6, Katherine Heigl. Katherine Heigl was at the height of her career when she joined Grey's Anatomy. However, after she decided to leave the show, it seems like the star would find herself blacklisted from sets due to her poor behavior. With cast and crew members back in 2007, Katherine would badmouth her own movie Knocked Up, which would prove that she was really hard to work with. However, it wouldn't be until 2008 when Katherine would really burn all her bridges in Hollywood after she was nominated for an Emmy and withdrew her name for consideration because she felt like the Grey's Anatomy season didn't give her enough material to be nominated. She would then come out to say in a statement statement that she didn't feel like she was given enough material to warrant an Emmy nomination. In an effort to maintain the integrity of the Academy organization, she was withdrawing her name and the whole world would be shocked. But an Emmy nomination is an Emmy. And if you feel like you weren't given enough material, you still take the nomination, because sometimes these nominations only come around once in your lifetime, and some people never even find themselves being nominated. Since the Grey's Anatomy creator Shonda Rhimes has been greatly offended, and fans have been totally turned off by Catherine's behavior, as Shonda worked really hard for her show and this Emmy nomination was a big deal. Number 5. Thomas Gibson. Actor Thomas Gibson would find himself being fired from the CBS drama Criminal Minds in 2016 after 11 seasons in the wake of an on-set altercation with a producer. ABC Studios and CBS TV Studios would then come out to say in a statement that Thomas was dismissed from Criminal Minds and that his character's exit would be addressed in the show at a later date. With Gibson's character only appearing in 2 episodes that year, the actor was set to never appear in a show again after the studio conducted an internal review of an incident that alleged Thomas kicked a producer on the show, who TMZ identified to be Virgil Williams. It's also been said in the past Thomas has been known to have violent outbursts. This even included one with an assistant director in 2010 who claims Thomas shoved him. This behavior would then result in the studio to send Thomas to anger management classes. However, after the studio realized even the classes weren't working with Thomas's behavior, they decided just to let him go from the show altogether. Number 4. Mike Myers. While The Cat in the Hat was a children's show we all enjoyed watching come to life, apparently Mike Myers made the reality a daily nightmare for the cast and crew members. Amy Hill would then come out to describe how bad it actually was to work with Mike. Not only would Mike be rude to the cast and crew, but he actually would have them sit around all day waiting for him to show up on set. He also made the set hire someone to follow him around while he was in a cat costume and feed him chocolates. Whenever he needed the chocolate, the guy would run over and hand feed the chocolates to him on the set. Well, one can only imagine what it would look like to see a grown man in a costume running around a set being fed chocolates by another human being. I can only imagine what the snack wrangler would put on their resume to describe that very job. Number 3. Christina Aguilera. Sources close to the Voice production team have claimed that Christina Aguilera was nothing but a woman of people, as she was extremely rude to both the crew and the fans on the show. The sources would also say that Christina didn't want anyone to get close to her. If someone went to shake her hand, she would even yell at them not to touch her. While it's not uncommon for celebrities to want their personal space, Christina was just taking things a little too far when she started to freak out and yell at people to get out of her space, but they were only just standing in the same room as her. The crew also went on to note that it was actually pretty unpleasant to work with the diva, as she was really demanding and told everyone they should respect her. While the crew tried to deal with the situation the best they could, Christina just kept continuing to go on and ruin her image with her relentless wicked witch vibe. While the crew didn't want to hate her, they would state out of all the artists they have worked with, she seemed to be the least pleasant and compassionate out of all the bunch, and it was disheartening. Number 2. Ben Stiller. Ben Stiller is one of the few major celebrities that you rarely hear anything good or bad about, but maybe that's because he's secretly just a wonderful man and likes to keep his bad behavior on the down low. However, many people who have claimed Ben Stiller is great to work with, the Inquirer would draw a portrait that wasn't so full of sunshine and rainbows. While Ben was working on the set of The Little Fockers, he definitely got on someone's bad side, as the cast and crew made some pretty disturbing allegations when it came to his behavior. Apparently, when working on the set, Ben would earn the nickname Little Focker, as he alienated most of the cast and crew on the film in his vain, self-absorbed behavior, and when he wasn't obsessing over his looks, he would be throwing temper tantrums and screaming at the underlings. Ben even would go on to fire an assistant director and demanded star treatment for his entourage, personal chefs, hair and makeup minders, and refused to interact with the underlings unless it was to yell at them. His ego has gone off the charts, and he even went off on a female director for a perceived mistake and screamed at the top of his lungs that he never wanted to work with her again before storming off the set. He then refused to come back until she was gone, and the set let her go the next day and brought in a male replacement to appease Ben. And coming in number 1 today, we have Bill Murray. In April, Bill Murray's film would be shut down for an investigation into his alleged inappropriate behavior. That set a dark tone amid a resurface on set stories that kept Hollywood whispering for decades. In 1991, it said that Disney was even forced to hire bodyguards to protect the cast and crew of the 1991's What About Bob? film. After the actor hurled a glass ashtray at Richard Dreyfuss and threatened to throw a female producer across a parking lot, despite his enduring status of being a beloved Hollywood bad boy, Murray has repeatedly been accused of violently clashing with his co-stars, from butt-heading to inexcusable and unacceptable language on numerous sets stretching all the way back to the 1970s. It's even been said after multiple outbursts on the What About Bob set, everyone would walk off production and fly back to LA, and the film only resumed after Disney hired some bodyguards to physically separate Bill from his co-stars and crew members in between takes.
Number 10. The Community cast. Kicking off our list is a group effort. Chevy Chase was a popular man thanks to National Lampoon and Saturday Night Live, but he returned to the mainstream when he starred as Pierce Hawthorne on the hit sitcom Community. Now, I personally loved this show. Chevy Chase, not so much. And it would appear that his Community co-stars would agree with that statement. Around the middle of the show's runtime, Chevy started to complain about his co-stars, especially Donald Glover. It became apparent that he was more than just angry with Donald and was eventually fired for using racial slurs against him. According to Donald himself, aka Troy Barnes, Chevy would often make inappropriate jokes, either aimed at him or as a general way to disrupt a scene. Joel McHale told People that before he was fired, Chevy was complaining about his character on the show and how he was being portrayed. The entire cast reminded Chevy that there was no contract keeping him there, which may have been part of what set him off on set. His character was written out in truly humiliating fashion, with his life ending after feeding his geese too much, if you know what I mean. He was playing with his ding-dong. Number 9. Tyrese Gibson. It's no longer a surprise to anyone on the planet that James Franco is a bad dude. His negative vibe can actually be traced back to 2005. James and Tyrese Gibson starred opposite each other in a 2005 dramatic piece called Annapolis. The story followed Franco's character wanting to attend the titular Naval Academy and entering into a boxing tournament against some of the Navy's best and brightest. His main opponent was, of course, Tyrese Gibson. Throughout the majority of the film, James and Tyrese would regularly practice their choreography for their final fight of the film. Now, method acting is one thing when you just pretend to be someone else all the time, but it's different when you're literally punching your co-star for real. Instead of the normal film choreography allowing actors to fake hit each other, Franco was throwing real punches left and right without warning. Gibson tried to be civil at first and just asked him to lighten up, but Franco ignored him and continued to box his little heart out. When asked about the incident in interviews, Franco defends himself by saying that he was aware that he made the set difficult at times and just claimed to be so wrapped up in his role that he probably wasn't as friendly as he could be. Gibson, however, holds a massive grudge towards Franco, claiming that he'd never step foot in the same room as him ever again. Good news for Tyrese, James got cancelled and Fast 11 is surely on its way. Maybe they'll go to Atlantis this time. Okay, why does that sound cool though? Number 8, Viola Davis. Now, the stories about Jared Leto and his acting methods are infamous. On almost every single set that he's been on, this dude has just caused some kind of issue. Someone made a very smart decision to keep Jared away from his castmates on the set of Haunted Mansion. That decision really should have been made though on the set of the long-forgotten 2016 Suicide Squad from DC Comics, when Jared played the Joker and took it just way too far. Now, I have mentioned the fact that he's left live animals in people's trailers and used adult skin tubes on their pillows, and many times in many other videos. For Amanda Waller, aka Viola Davis, she actually received an unwanted surprise that almost forced her to quit the gig. One day she returned to her trailer where she found a case filled with ammunition. Thousands of little metal life enders were just left there as a gift from Jared. Viola did not think this was a present. In fact, she thought that this was a threat. After speaking to her fellow castmates, she realized that it was just Jared leaving her a fun little gift, you know, just enjoy it. This was frightening to say the least, but for Viola, it set her off. When speaking about her time on the film, she has maintained that Jared was intense, and she's glad that she never had to be face to face with him on screen. Or maybe she was. Honestly, I try not to think about that movie very much. Number 7, Amy Hill. Yeah, baby, this one's shagadelic. Despite being a Canadian treasure and the man behind some comedy cult classics like Austin Powers and Wayne's World, Mike Myers is apparently a menace on set. According to his Cat in the Hat co-star Amy Hill, Mike had handlers dress his entire trailer and work area in tenting. Apparently, he didn't want anyone to physically see him. Honestly, that's fair. If I was in a cat suit with an actual plastic bum crack in it, I would want to hide too. His reputation as a difficult Donnie may may have something to do with Hollywood basically blacklisting him from appearing as a lead in anything thanks to The Love Guru, which, again, I try not to think about that movie. Of course, he recently starred in his own show called The Pentaverate, which aired on Netflix, a show where he was forced to play half of the cast because he couldn't get more people to work with him. Or maybe it's because of The Love Guru. Honestly, it's a bad movie, who knows? Number 6, Latto. Latto debuted a new song at Coachella earlier this year, a catchy tune that a lot of fans are calling a direct diss towards Nicki Minaj. The big energy rapper provided fans with a fun dance track packed to the brim with shade. Rapping the lyrics, snitches acting like they're running it, they really ran through. She thought I would kiss her ash, but she mustn't have took her meds. Can you tell I'm not a rapper? Latto ended the song with several clues as to who the song was about, including some ad-libs like, say she got a problem, imaginary smoke, you said it's up, then put on the floor. I honestly would love to quote everything that she sang or said about Nicki, but it just does not sound right coming out of me. I mean, just listen to how I say the word snitch, like the true Harry Potter geek that I am. In the past, the two had a very public battle on Twitter with swear words and shade being thrown left and right. After Coachella in 2022, these two fell out even harder. An all-out verbal war had begun with the two now entangled in a lifelong feud that may never fade. Now, I'm not sure who the rude one is in this case. I will let you be the judge because you're probably a fan and I'm not. Number 5, George Takei. This one is for all of you Star Trek fans out there. Please just live long and prosper and enjoy this video. Now, the world will surely be well aware of this long-standing feud between William Shatner and his Star Trek co-star, George Takei. This feud has lasted over 50 years, and according to George, boils down to William being a prima donna attention hog the entire time he was on set. Over the years, George has always been very vocal about his opinion on his fellow Star Trek cast and crew. Most of the time, he has nothing but nice things to say and claims to have made lifelong friends from the project. But there is one that he despises: William Shatner. William Shatner was the bane of everyone's existence on set. He loved being the center of attention, and he was very self-involved. He wanted everyone to know who he was. William actually responded to these claims, telling people that he believed his Star Trek co-star was damaging his good name for publicity's sake. Why would a man who's barely acted in 30 years suddenly want to bash you for fame and glory? That doesn't make sense. I don't know if anyone's noticed or not, but William Shatner hasn't done much either in a while, other than petition to go to space for real. Number 4, Dwayne Johnson. Dwayne and Vin Diesel first met on the set of Fast 5, the 5th Fast and Furious movie. They're really great with names. This was Vin Diesel's 5th movie, while it was Dwayne Johnson's first, not just in the franchise, but in acting in general. Now, at first, everything seemed to be okay with these guys. Fast 5 made a ton of money, and they asked Dwayne to come back for a 6th and 7th installment. However, something changed in 2016 when in a now deleted post called one of his fellow Fast 7 co-stars a candied bum, only he didn't say bum, man, I wish I could swear. He actually said a word that rhymes with grass. Rumors began to fly that he was more than likely referencing Vin Diesel. Rumors proven true only a week later. Following the premiere of Fate of the Furious, Johnson posted to Instagram thanking all of his fellow cast members by name, but he left Vin Diesel out of it. It was later confirmed by Michelle Rodriguez, their co-star, that there was a massive amount of tension on set. They were bros at first, but as time went on, the franchise evolved, and so did their egos. They fought constantly over who should get more screen time, more money, who was the real lead, you know? Toxic stuff like that. To keep both of the actors happy, Johnson was given a spin-off movie where he co-starred with Jason Statham, and Vin Diesel was left right where he belongs with his family. Number 3, Meryl Streep. Dustin Hoffman is a very easy man to spot. Not only is he a solid actor, but he has a very specific face. Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium, anyone? Huh? Remember that movie? I didn't until I started writing this script, and I'm gonna go watch it tonight. Despite his ability to play lovable and cheerful characters, he actually started out as somewhat of a villain. On the second day of filming his more famous part in Kramer vs. Kramer, Dustin decided to improvise a scene where he strikes Meryl Streep across the face. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Dustin Hoffman thought it'd be a good idea to slap Meryl Streep. Mamma mia, that's not okay. Get it? Because she was in Mama? I'm just gonna move on. Not only was Meryl shocked by the move, but she recalled that Dustin was also trying to use a tactic on her called emotional recall, taunting her about her late partner, John Cazale, and his illness. So just extra level of evil from Dusty. Number 2, Freddie Prinze Jr. Kiefer Sutherland is known for his roles in movies like Lost Boys and Stand By Me, and has built a nice little nest egg for himself. For a long time, he was starring in the crime drama 24. Many celebrities have made small cameos and reoccurring roles on the show, but in 2010, Scooby-Doo alumni Freddie Prinze Jr. was casted as Agent Cole Ortiz. Despite the massive success of the show, the job left him scarred, admitting that he hated every moment of it. According to Freddie, Kiefer Sutherland is the most unprofessional person in the entire world. He continued to say that he wasn't talking trash. This was something that he would say happily to Kiefer's face. Apparently, a ton of his co-stars agree that he makes filming a living nightmare. Following the end of his character's time on the show, he did slow down in the acting world, now limiting himself to voiceover and cameo roles. The odd thing was that while there was some people backing up Freddie's story, there were actually a higher number of defenders for Sutherland, claiming the exact opposite was happening. Some say he's the most professional man in the world, so if anyone watching this knows Kiefer, weigh in, write hashtag Kiefer good or hashtag Kiefer bad, and see what happens. Number 1, Rachel McAdams. The Notebook is considered to be a great romantic movie, one of the greatest of all time. In fact, oddly enough, the on-screen couple did not get along at all while filming. Rachel McAdams and her co-star Ryan Gosling would constantly fight on set and seem to have completely opposite ideas on how most of the scenes should play out. One day in particular was pretty exciting for anyone not involved, all the drama watchers on set enjoying their free tea. Ryan called over the director and demanded that Rachel be replaced by another actress to read her lines. In front of 150 crew members, Ryan Gosling was claiming that Rachel wasn't giving him anything, and the two would constantly yell at each other. Their toxic on-set feud somehow morphed into a real-life relationship that lasted for like 2 years. Anyone who's worked on the set of this film blames them for constant schedule setbacks and creating an overall difficult work environment. So honestly, we don't know who the meanest one was there, Rachel or Ryan. You be the judge. Number 10, Bill Murray. Sony's first venture into the world of Charlie's Angels was a massive success, starring Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore, and Lucy Liu as the titular angels. The movie was filled with action, a bit of comedy, and one of the strangest performances ever delivered by Crispin Glover. Seriously, that guy needs some help. One interesting addition to the cast was the inclusion of Ghostbusters alumni Bill Murray as the man behind the mic in charge of the Angels, Bosley. Apparently, the set was anything but a comedy after Bill found out that a scene was rewritten without his knowledge. In an interview with the news outlet Deadline, Lucy Liu spoke up about her time on set and the situation surrounding Bill Murray's outburst. Apparently, Bill was away for a family event when a scene needed to be reshot for the movie, but instead of using a stand-in, it was decided that the scene could be filmed without Murray's character even being involved, so the scene went on without him. When he returned to find that the change was made while he was gone, he was furious. He reportedly shouted at half of the crew, including Lucy herself. At first, she wasn't sure why he was aiming his comments at her. She's not the one who wrote the scene, she wasn't the director or anything. So she asked if Bill was talking to her, which sent him into a full-on meltdown. She decided to speak out on Bill's behavior on set, and Bill was ultimately written out of the sequel. Lucy is proud for speaking her mind despite being a relatively unknown actor at the time, and has always been glad that Bill's career seems to have suffered for it, because Lucy was just the first of many celebrities to comment on his behavior, but we'll save that for another time. Number 9. Dustin Hoffman. Dustin is a very easy man to spot. Not only is he a solid actor, but he has just a very specific face. You know, Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium, anyone? That's an old one. Despite his ability to play lovable and cheerful characters, he actually started out as somewhat of a villain in the world of Hollywood. On the second day of filming his more famous part in Kramer vs. Kramer, Dustin decided to improvise a scene where he strikes Meryl Streep across the face. Let me rephrase that. Dustin Hoffman thought it'd be a great idea to strike Meryl Streep. Mamma mia, that's not okay. Get it? She was in Mamma Mia. I'm so good at this. Not only was Meryl shocked by the move, but she recalled that Dustin was also trying to use a tactic on her called emotional recall, and was literally taunting her about her recently deceased partner John Cazale and his illness. Yay! Number 8. James Franco. Tyrese Gibson and James Franco starred opposite each other in a 2005 dramatic piece called Annapolis. The story follows Franco's character wanting to attend the titular Naval Academy and entering into a boxing tournament against some of the Navy's best and brightest. His main opponent is Tyrese Gibson. Throughout the majority of the filming, James and Tyrese would regularly practice their choreography for their final fight of the film. Now, method acting is one thing when you just pretend to be someone else all the time, but it's different different when you're literally punching your co-stars for real. Instead of the normal choreography allowing actors to like fake strike each other, Franco was throwing real punches without warning. Gibson tried to be civil at first and asked him to lighten up, but Franco ignored him and continued to just box his heart out. When asked about the incident in interviews, Franco defends himself by saying that he was aware that he made the set difficult all the time and claimed to be so wrapped up in his role that he probably just wasn't as friendly as he could have been. Gibson, however, holds a massive grudge towards Franco, claiming that he'd never step foot in the same room as him ever again. So good news for Tyrese, James got cancelled and Fast 11 comes out next week. Number 7, Ryan Gosling. The Notebook is considered to be one of the greatest romantic movies ever made in Hollywood, but oddly enough, the on-screen couple did not get along at all during the shoot. They would constantly fight on set and seem to have completely opposite ideas on how several of the scenes should play out. One day in particular was pretty exciting for anyone who wasn't involved, drama watchers sipping their tea, as Ryan called over the director and demanded that Rachel McAdams be replaced by another actress to read her lines with him. In front of 150 crew members, he claimed that Rachel wasn't giving him anything to work with, and the two would constantly yell at each other on set. Their toxic on-set feud somehow morphed into a toxic relationship that lasted for 2 years. Anyone who worked on the set blames them for constant schedule setbacks and creating an overall difficult work environment. Number 6, Tom Hardy. Mad Max Fury Road is a forgotten gem in cinema history. It featured little to no CGI, despite having some insane visuals, and it also featured some pretty stellar performances from its cast, including Nicholas Hoult, Charlize Theron, and Tom Hardy. But Charlize and Tom played the main characters Furiosa and Max, and while their on-screen characters end up working together in the end, on set, pretty different vibe. Tom had a bad habit of showing up late all the time. Meanwhile, Charlize was a brand new mother who would be there on time every single day while her kids were forced to be taken care of by someone else. In a book about Mad Max Fury Road, the wild and true story of the creation of the film, the writer Kyle Buchanan shared an instance on set between Charlize and Tom. Everybody was there at 8 a.m. ready to shoot except for Tom Hardy. But to make a point, Charlize took her place and stayed there till Tom showed up 3 hours later. She didn't move a muscle, and according to the crew, she was beyond furious. When Tom finally showed up, she asked him how he could be so disrespectful and said that they should fine the See You Next Tuesday $100,000 for every minute that he held her up and the crew. She didn't say see you next Tuesday, but the word she did say set Tom off. He rushed up to her and pulled out the whole "what did you say to me" thing. Yeah, big tough guy, huh? He can't hear so good. Overall, Charlize felt very uncomfortable with Tom and had to have an assistant follow her around on set as a buffer between the two. When the shoot wrapped, the tension was gone and things seemed to have gotten better, but the difficult shoot combined with the stress is probably why there was never a Mad Max 2, which really hurts. Seriously, if you made it and you're watching this, make another one. Number 5, Vin Diesel. Dwayne Johnson and Vin Diesel first met on the set of the 5th Fast and Furious movie, Fast 5. They're really good with names. This was Vin Diesel's 5th movie, while it was Dwayne's first. Not just in the franchise, but in the acting world in general. He had been in small budget movies, but this was a big budget movie. At first, everything seemed to be okay with these guys on set. Fast 5 made a ton of money, and they asked Dwayne to return for 6 and 7. However, something changed in 2016 when, in a now deleted post, Dwayne called one of his fellow Fast 7 co-stars a candied bum. He didn't say bum, but we can't swear on the internet, so I'm a toddler today. He actually said a word that rhymes with grass. Rumors began to fly that this was more than likely referencing Vin Diesel. Rumors proven only a few weeks after the post was made. Following the premiere of Fate of the Furious, Johnson posted on Instagram thanking all of his fellow co-stars and cast members by name except for Vin Diesel. It was later confirmed by Fast and Furious co-star Michelle Rodriguez that there was a massive amount of tension on set between these guys. They were bros at first, but as time went on and the franchise evolved, so did their egos. They fought constantly over who should get more screen time, who should get more money, who was the real lead of the franchise. You know, toxic masculinity and all that. To keep both actors happy, Johnson was given a spin-off movie in which he co-starred as the lead with Jason Statham, and Vin Diesel was left right where he belongs with his family. Number 4, Janet Hubert. Will Smith got his big break in the acting world thanks to his successful time on the sitcom Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. The show followed Will as the titular prince, living with his wealthy family in Bel-Air, surrounded by cousins, uncles, and of course, Aunt Viv. In season 1, Aunt Viv was played by a woman named Janet Hubert Witten, but as a lot of people know, she was recasted after an on-set feud with Will Smith just went way too far. According to Will, Janet viewed him as an antagonist. She had been in the business for years when Will suddenly popped into her life and took lead of a show. She held a tinge of jealousy towards Will as he just walked into town, got the gig, and that's it, you know? Well, hey Janet, I'm sorry, but that's what happens when you're good at your job. She was trying to convince the producers of his show to give her character more screen time and allow her to breathe on camera, but they said no, because it's not the Aunt Viv show, okay? She fought back hard, but it was ultimately decided that she would be asked to sit out of the rest of the series and was replaced by Daphne Maxwell Reid, who is the real Aunt Viv, okay? We all know and love her. Number 3, Alyssa Milano. So, let's talk about the show Charmed for a second. This was a solid series that was on air for almost 10 years. The series followed 3 sisters that discover their descendants of a line of good female witches and they're destined to fight against the forces of evil. Yeah, it was a very fun show. However, just because you play sisters on set doesn't mean that you're going to be close in real life. Rose McGowan and Alyssa Milano had a very public altercation that resulted in a little incident on set being shared with the world. Rose claimed that Alyssa threw a fit in front of the crew, yelling about not being paid enough to do the stuff that she was doing, only she didn't say stuff. She called Alyssa's behavior appalling and claimed that she cried every time the show got renewed for another season because it just meant more time on a toxic set. Alyssa never shared her own comments on the situation, confirming what she was being accused of. Number 2, Richard Gere. Richard Gere is one of those actors that doesn't really act. Sometimes people just get hired for films because they have the face for it and the style. For Richard Gere, he did not have enough class and moxie to keep a handle on his role in the film Lords of the Flatbush. He was cast to star alongside Rocky himself, Sylvester Stallone, and according to Sly, these two did not get along. Their beef was strong and long-lasting throughout production, until it finally came to a head when one day Richard was just a little bit too into one scene and grabbed Sylvester aggressively by the collar. When Sly told him to lay off, he laid in instead. The scene was being filmed on Coney Island, and when the actors took a minute to take a break, they tried to break each other. Sly was eating a hot dog alone in his car. Sounds pretty peaceful, right? But suddenly Richard stormed in to join him with half of a chicken dripping in mustard. Despite Sly's warnings about the mustard, it dripped all over his pants. And in true Rocky fashion, he elbowed Richard in the face and threw him out of his car. The altercation resulted in Richard being fired from the project. Oh no, we have to decide between Richard Gere and Sylvester Stallone. I wonder how quick that decision was. Number 1, Jared Leto. Now, Jared Leto has always been a problematic figure in the world of Hollywood throughout most of his career. After first gaining notoriety for portraying the character of Lane Dixon alongside Dennis Quaid and Danny Glover, Leto quickly began building up his acting repertoire with roles in iconic movies like Mr. Nobody, Girl Interrupted, and he even took a turn as the Clown Prince of Darkness, the Joker, in 2016, which we don't like to talk about much. It's not a good memory. Jared has always taken method acting to the extreme, losing and gaining weight rapidly over and over again, and it was in the film as the Joker where we think he might have snapped. While playing this iconic Batman villain, Leto purposefully distanced himself from his fellow actors on set, and reports are that he sent the castmates used adult toys, live animals, and deceased animals as well. At one point during filming, Captain Boomerang actor Jai Courtney found a live snake in his trailer following along shoot day. The snake wasn't venomous or anything, but I think we can all agree that's a big nope. In recent years, he's claimed that any gifts that he sends to castmates are sent with the intent of joy and excitement and should be received as such. But I don't know, exposing your fellow actors to your body fluids and real snakes? That doesn't sound very exciting.